What's goody farmer friends? It's April 14th, 2026. We had a frost today and it rained / did some snow flurries Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this week on Thursday, the forecast low is 26 at night. So we've fluctuated back into some winter-esque temps in spring, and I'm here for the weekly update just to do a brief walkthrough and show you how the farm is looking right now with all those fluctuations. Some yellow on the tips. Moisture levels have been holding with the thick mulches. Watering pretty much every day last week, and I'm going to start watering right now after the video. Probably only for a half hour, not an hour like I have been. We get really hot and really dry, and then we go back into milder temps with a little bit of precipitation, at least at this moment right now in early spring. And something I was making an observation about with my brother yesterday, and some good notes to go on. But this row obviously looks way more green than most of the other rows. And a few notes on that is that this row in particular was planted with a row of peaches, a row of apples, and a row of pears to grow that out for naturally, locally adapted tree seed, which is a practice I've been doing over the years. So one hypothesis is that this row is a lot more dense because it had all the nutrients from that rotting fruit. We didn't separate the seeds from the fruit. We just buried a whole row of peaches, a whole row of rotting apples, and a whole row of rotting pears. But on top of that note, we had some deep soaking rains in September, so that gave them a little bit better of a head start as to where these other rows that were planted in October, that was a very dry period. But also, since the growing space has been expanded from 6 rows to 11, I was like, let me plant the garlic a little bit further apart from each other, because I was looking back at pictures from last season, and this is how dense every bed was planted. And that's because I only had 6 rows. But when you get more space, you're like, oh, let me space it out a little bit more. So the third theory, on top of they had a lot more nutrients from the rotting fruit, was planted at a wetter time, a more wet time. Also, I think the garlic really benefits from being planted more dense together, because that, you can see how windy it is right now, so that leaves less room for wind to blow through and the beds to dry out. So moving forward in future years, this is how dense I'm going to plant every bed. It's about 5 to 6 heads of garlic, as to where some of these other ones only have 4 or 3. So that's my notes for right now, observations, and we're just trying to getting through this odd period in the season where it's summer temps for a week and then it goes back into winter fluctuations, which is beneficial in ways because we get some precipitation, but yeah, that's how everything is looking right now. So I'll continue to keep you folks updated along the way, and we're midway through April, so May, June. We're actually only about 2 months and a week from harvest, and you can tell if it's going to be a big head of garlic or not by looking at the stalk, at least from my previous observations. So we've got a good amount of garlic here. Once again, these 2 beds get donated in exchange for allowing me to be here, and I'm looking at, hopefully on the low end 130 pounds, on the high end 140 to 150 pounds. And then next year, if I save it all and don't sell any, that can boost up to 300. But I'm considering buying in 40 pounds next year, or I guess in the fall. So depending on, say I get 130 pounds, I might just buy in 70 pounds. That way I could plant 200 pounds and be up to 400 pounds next year and really start distributing this seed. And I would buy the seed from the human being that I've gotten the majority of the garlic that is growing here from. So it'd be kind of the same, but now this garlic has been adapted to Reno, Nevada for 2 seasons and was previously adapted to a much wetter climate for 3 seasons before that. Overall, garlic is a very hardy crop, but the fact that this has been grown in 2 completely separate regions, 2 completely different separate regions of the country, I feel makes it even a little bit more adaptable. Wherever you were to plant this, whether it's a little bit further south or a little bit further north, it'll do really well for you. So that is my update for today, April 14th, 2026. It's a constant learning process. You take what you learned in the previous season and apply it to the next one. So overall, definitely want to plant more tree seed, and definitely will be planting the garlic more dense from here on out. This was kind of a trial year. What happens if I give it a little bit more space? And it seems that they don't do as well. So that is what I have for now. It's windy, it's chilly, but this wind is also very drying, which is why I'm going to water for a half hour, even though it's going to be 26 Thursday. Who knows, next week it could go back up to 70s and 80s. So we're just trying to stay ahead of the curve, because by the 3rd week of June it's going to be hot and it's going to dry out quick. So we want to retain that moisture and keep it there in the system. I'm sure the beds are damp, but just it's a very thirsty crop. So peace, blessings, and wholeness. One love from Farmer John, Sunshine Farm. Appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.